Think Global Logistics.
We're going to be talking about scams. Scammers and how to avoid being scammed as a business. And more specifically, how it relates to the freight industry.
Cyber criminals are amazingly rational when they need to.
And says she lost almost $100,000 of her life savings.
I'd lost everything.
And I could not figure out why I kept ignoring all the red flags.
Scammers are everywhere, especially true over the last 2 years since COVID. Everybody had a lot of time indoors and trying to make a living, and so has the scammers. And during this time, they've become very sophisticated in their way of scamming. And we've all heard those very heartbreaking stories when it's targeted at individuals. You know, the lonely heart scam, the granny scam, you know, we're targeting old people who are the most vulnerable. It's the lowest form of human behavior, but it is a behavior that is widespread today. And we cannot avoid it, simply, you know, leave it to the footnote or a side note of some obscure article. And it is a crying shame that our government have not produced any type of public awareness to help its very citizens to avoid the subject of how not to get scammed. The scams don't only exist at homes, they exist from a B2B environment as well. Us as a business, as a commercial entity, we get these scams or scammers that approach us on a daily basis in all different types of ways. Some are blatantly obvious they're scammers or scamming, some less so. On this particular video, I will share with you some of the scams that we have seen, which we believe to be quite sophisticated, and you as a business, especially if you're in the freight business, need to watch this. The first scam that we have come across as a freight business is the supplier invoice payment scam. Suspiciously, you know, these emails will come from a recognizable supplier, which as a freight business we might deal with on a daily basis, and they would usually, you know, trying to communicate with you in a manner that is close enough to day-to-day industry banter, but not quite there. There's just certain clues and few words here and there that's misplaced that makes you sort of be alert. However, in a busy working environment or office environment where there's many heads in charge of accounts payable or going through an operations desk where there's simply too many people to keep check of how things are coming in and going out, it could easily be passed off as a real invoice. I have heard of stories from some of our industry colleagues where their teams have fallen victim to it. So these are very, again, very simple style of scam. It's an email with a instruction of some form in the email or through a link where you basically click through and make a payment. Especially these days, we see language being used. They are using industry jargons and terminologies, which clearly they've done some research themselves. So be alert of the supplier payment or invoice payment scam.